Angel took exception to. So initially, Angel pushes Natasha Howard. Caitlin Clark points out the no call. Then she applies a hard foul on Reese. Reese gets up right away to get in the face of Clark. Aaliyah Boston.
What happens when the brightest star in women's basketball becomes the #1 target on and off the court? When every comment, every foul, and every accidental bump feels less like defense and more like a message? Well, that's exactly what's happening to Caitlin Clark. And the evidence is piling up so fast, you can't call it coincidence anymore, especially in this 2025.
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're gonna see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're gonna come with some grown women that've been playing professional basketball for a long time.
This isn't just about basketball or the buzz that comes with it. This is about envy and resentment. This is about a league struggling to handle the one player who changed everything overnight. And when you start looking closely at the comments, the fouls, and the way certain teams react, it tells a story that's way bigger than one WNBA guard. But before I show you some of the events and scenarios that had fans convinced Clark is being targeted on purpose, let's take a step back and see how this whole ugly pattern started. The WNBA should be celebrating right now. The merchandise sales went up 500%, and the attendance is now surging 40% across the entire league. I mean, teams that couldn't sell tickets 6 months ago now have season ticket waiting lists. This might look a bit exaggerated, but the reason is obvious, especially to those who have seen the statistics. Caitlin Clark is the cause of all these major shifts. She didn't just bring her game to the league, she brought a wave, the sponsors, TV ratings, and sold-out arenas. Things the WNBA had been begging for were suddenly delivered by a 23-year-old young star. But instead of embracing her, some veterans and analysts can't seem to hide their jealousy. A simple example of this showed up in the voting for top guards. When the fans voted, Clark was ranked first. But when the players voted, she came in ninth. The same player filling every arena because of her incredible play, the same player who made jerseys sell out overnight, got shoved down the list. And it doesn't stop there. From press conferences throwing shade, to silent benches when she's fouled hard, the league politics around Clark are impossible to ignore. It's the same story we've seen before in sports history. Michael Jordan, LeBron, and Steph Curry. Every generational star gets a welcome to the league moment. But with Clark, it's not just a moment anymore. It's a pattern. Let's rewind to April 2024, right before Clark officially entered the WNBA. Diana Taurasi, an all-time basketball player and someone who dominated the league for years, appeared on ESPN's SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. And when Clark's college basketball stats were highlighted, she decided she couldn't hold it in anymore. And she went ahead to say something that showed outright jealousy.
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're gonna see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're gonna come with some grown women that've been playing professional basketball for a long time.
On the surface, it looked like a cautionary note for a rookie entering a professional league. But anybody with eyes knows what this is. But here's the twist. Clark's rookie season didn't just meet expectations, it obliterated them. Clark led the league in assists and went on to maintain her historic scoring averages, ultimately winning the Rookie of the Year award, proving that she is the one-in-a-lifetime player the WNBA has been waiting for.
So hi, Coach Size. This is WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Do we have the team all together?
Hello.
In tomorrow's playoff game, and is Caitlin Clark in the room? Rookie of...
Think about this for a second. How often do rookie players completely flip expectations like that? But Taurasi wasn't the only one caught up in this. Fast forward to 2025, and suddenly, social media, team coaches, and other analysts were all part of the controversy. From Cheryl Reeves' tweets to Tiffany Bias Pelton's comparisons, the backlash against Clark was everywhere. Now let's zoom in on mid-2025. The WNBA was buzzing not just about Clark's dominance, but about those talking about her. Cheryl Reeve, the coach of the Minnesota Lynx and a prominent figure in Team USA, suddenly decided that she wanted some visibility in the WNBA, and you can guess who she was referring to. Yes, Caitlin Clark. But Christine Brennan, a respected USA Today columnist, didn't let that slide. In her own words, Reeves' action was a stunningly bad behavior. But that was not all. Everyone could see the pattern with Reeves' tweets and posts. They always seemed to single out Clark, showing subtle frustration about the media's focus. The narrative is simple. Clark's success was rewriting the WNBA hierarchy, and some veterans couldn't handle it. But Reeve wasn't the only veteran caught off guard. Monica McNutt, speaking on ESPN, made some subtle, petty remarks about Clark's fan base being racial. Here's what McNutt said.
That she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not.
McNutt's point was that Clark's relatability contributed to her popularity. But everyone knows this isn't just wrong. It is stupid. Her identity and background cannot be placed above her basketball accomplishments. I mean, you can clearly see the stat. Even Jason Whitlock had something to say about this.
A large number of the black players and former black players have decided, hey, we're gonna hate on Caitlin Clark and we're gonna talk about Caitlin Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league.
So far, we've seen veteran legends, coaches, and analysts all stumble in discussing Clark. But the pattern is clear. Every attempt to critique or contextualize her has backfired spectacularly. Next, we'll get into the on-air comparisons and controversial analyst remarks. Fast forward to August 2025. Tiffany Bias Pelton, a well-known analyst, made an on-air remark that was nothing but shameless. Pelton drew a comparison between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, framing Clark as someone looking for her shot more, while portraying Bueckers as the facilitator.
Compare the Rookie of the Year last year to the potential Rookie of the Year this year. You can see their numbers are pretty much point by point. It is hard, but you can tell they are two different styles of players. You know, Paige is getting people more involved, Caitlin's more looking for her shot, but these two rookie comparisons, they are at the ultimate players, and they are...
On the surface, it might seem harmless, but the numbers told a very different story. Clark in her rookie year was averaging over 19 points per game. She was leading the WNBA in assists at 8.4 per game, and Bueckers, by comparison, was strong, with 18.5 points and 5.5 assists per game, but far from Clark's historic playmaking numbers.
Compare the Rookie of the Year last year to the potential Rookie of the Year this year. You can see their numbers are pretty much point by point. It is hard, but you can tell they are two different styles of players. You know, Paige is getting people more involved, Caitlin's more looking for her shot, but these two rookie comparisons, they are at the ultimate players, and they are...
Just a month earlier, in July 2025, Carolyn Peck went even further. On SportsCenter, she suggested the Indiana Fever were even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play. Let that sink in. The player responsible for record viewership, sold-out arenas, and record-breaking stats. Peck was simply trying to remove Clark from the picture. She was clearly saying the Fevers didn't need her.
Look, I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away.
But that's not where this constant harassment ends. It goes way deep into the court, and it gets a whole lot more physical. We can see all this evidence right from her rookie season, when the fouls started sending a message.
Coming into a professional basketball league with professional media, pick a field, doesn't matter the field. We're supposed to be moving forward, but Caitlin Clark.
Howard continued to be provocative, and after Caitlin drew this offensive foul on Brittany Griner, it looked like she was pretty annoyed with her.
Caitlin Clark was sprinting full speed, her eyes on the rim. Then boom, Diamond D-Shield stepped in to bump into her. No play on the ball, no attempt at defense, just a shoulder block that sent Clark crashing to the floor. On the stat sheet, it's just another foul, but anyone watching knew better. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. The whispers had already been circulating. She's being targeted. Teams don't like the hype she's getting, and this bump only added fuel to that fire.
Howard continued to be provocative, and after Caitlin drew this offensive foul on Brittany Griner, it looked like she was pretty annoyed with her.
The craziest part? After Clark hit the ground, Denshield's team didn't flinch. No apology. And if you thought that bump was all, then take a look at Angel Reese. And over here, we have Chennedy Carter side-bumping Clark for no reason. I mean, take a look at how Angel Reese reacted when Clark was hit to the ground by Carter. It felt like they had discussed it or even planned it. She even hugged Chennedy when the game was over. You even have Reese voicing out her jealousy again.
I think so many people are watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball that you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game,
and again. And again. And the way everyone on court keeps quiet when it happens, as if it is normal, is starting to get suspicious. The narrative is clear. This wasn't isolated. This was a pattern. Caitlin Clark wasn't just learning the professional game. She was learning what it meant to carry the weight of a target on her back. But here's what makes these cheap shots even more frustrating for her critics. Caitlin Clark never stays down. Every time she gets bumped, shoved, or knocked to the floor, she pops right back up.
One here, 2 for 1. Clark stutters up, goes right by Stewart, but blocked.
That was not a foul. That was a block.
Caitlin Clark hasn't just battled opponents this season. She's battled a wave of pettiness, physical targeting, and relentless scrutiny that has followed her from college to the pros.
She was prime Steph Curry.
There's a lot of bumping and like that.
And now, the result is impossible to ignore. And the WNBA might never be able to recover from it. What do I mean? This season, the Indiana Fever were able to secure a playoff spot for the second consecutive year, but they did it without their franchise centerpiece. Clark hasn't played since July 15th, when a right groin injury officially ended her season. But it didn't start there. Let's break it down clearly. Clark's 2025 campaign was full of setbacks, each one more frustrating than the last. On May 24th, when playing against the New York Liberty, Clark suffered a left quad strain, making her miss 5 games. Then, on June 24th, in a game against the Seattle Storm, a left groin injury sidelined Clark, and this went on for 4 more games. But this is when it got even worse. On July 15th, in a win against the Connecticut Sun, a right groin injury finally ended Clark's season. And even while out of the game, Clark was reported to have sustained a bone bruise in her left ankle. All this has kept her out of the game. Each injury adds to the last. And while some critics point out her not-so-good performance, comparing it with her 2024 season, one thing is clear. 13 games played, 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, 5 rebounds, and 1.6 steals per game is still something for someone who has gone through all these injuries coupled with the pressure, the hits, and the constant targeting. So let's stop pretending a few missed threes or turnovers mean Caitlin Clark is overrated. Her numbers, her leadership, and her impact tell the truth. She's still an all-star, still the league's biggest draw, still rewriting how guards play the game. Critics can say whatever they want to say, but the scoreboard doesn't lie. And the louder the noise gets, the more obvious it will become. Caitlin Clark is the real deal, and history will remember her for this. If you agree with this, let me hear you voice it out in the comments and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to see more from the WNBA, and until then, see you next time. Thanks for watching.